You spend 5 minutes answering survey questions and then suddenly, sorry, you don't qualify. Sound familiar? It's one of the most frustrating things about taking paid surveys, but the good news is that there are legit ways to increase your chances of qualifying. I've taken thousands of surveys over the years, and in this video I'll show you what actually work and how to qualify for more surveys. And make sure to stick around, because at the end I'll also show a couple of rare sites where you qualify for almost every single survey. Hi, I'm Michael, and I have been testing survey sites for years now, and I know how frustrating it can be to keep getting disqualified. But the good news is that there are legit ways to qualify for more surveys, and I'll share the best ones in this video based on real experiences after taking thousands of surveys myself. But first, let's address one of the biggest questions I see all the time. So is there a way to qualify for every survey? The short answer is no, and anyone claiming otherwise is either misleading you or not being honest about how surveys work. Some videos or blogs even suggest creating a fake persona, like pretending you have a specific job or specific income level or a specific family setup. And they say you should do this just to get through the qualification questions. But here's the thing, that is fraud. And it's a fast way to get your account banned, sometimes even without warning. You are also basically stealing from the companies behind these surveys. And these are real businesses, often small or mid-sized, that pay money to gather feedback from honest consumers to improve their products or services. And when someone fakes their answers just to get paid, it ruins the data and wastes their money. So not only is it dishonest, but it also hurts the companies and the real people behind them that are paying for the surveys. And it's also potentially hurting everyone else that's trying to earn from them, because if people keep faking questions or answers like this, eventually no one would want to actually pay you to take surveys anymore. So in general, not qualifying for surveys is a part of taking surveys, and it happens to everyone. And I really wanted to make this clear because I've seen these fake and unethical tricks shared somewhere. There are a few sites, however, where you qualify for basically all surveys, but they are very rare, and I will show them later in this video. But even on regular survey sites, there are legit ways to boost your chances of qualifying, and that's what we'll go into next. So the first tip is a basic one you need to make sure of, and that is that if you take paid service, you need to disable or turn off a VPN if you use one. VPNs are used, of course, to stay safe online, but it's also sometimes used to fake your country, and therefore survey sites do not allow them, because some people try to also cheat them by doing this. So they have very strict policies against VPN. So if you don't know that and you have a VPN on, you will not even be allowed to take any surveys, or you will get kicked out all the time or eventually end up getting banned. So the second tip is to also make sure to disable any ad blocker you have, if you have that installed on your computer or your phone, because an ad blocker also blocks the tracking survey sites use. So that means that you might take a survey, but they can't actually track it, and then they also can't build up this profile that will allow you to actually qualify for more surveys, and you also can't even get paid for it. So this is another basic setting that you need to be aware of while taking surveys. So the third tip is to make sure to fill out your profile. Most survey sites have a profile section, and just filling that out makes the chances of qualifying higher. Some survey sites use them more than others, and there are some that have become quite good at using this profile, so you will not get that many you disqualify for. Of course, there are also some survey sites where they ask you to spend like an hour filling out profile, and those survey sites usually I do stay away from. But most good survey sites, it will only take a few minutes, sometimes maybe 5 or 8 minutes or something like that to fill out your profile, and it can really pay off in the long run. Next tip is to click on what is working. And what do I mean about this? Well, that means that when you are on a service site or on a get paid to site, often there are different types of service, sometimes different providers, and you will see the names of these providers. And the more you take service, the more you will get familiar with this. And you will likely find that for you, with your profile, your location, there are just certain things, certain providers, certain types of service that work better for you than others. And this is something you can only learn yourself, because this is unique for you, by just keep testing. And that's something I figured out after having taken a lot of service, and I just started noticing these patterns. So pay attention to these patterns, what works best for you, and then just focus on that, because there are just some types of service you just know that the chances of disqualifying for, they are just too high. So then just focus on the ones where your chances are the biggest. So the next tip is to take surveys as early as possible, because when you see a survey, there are usually only limited spots, and when you click it, sometimes they haven't actually updated yet, and then you will take a few questions and then you will be told that sorry, you don't qualify, but you don't know necessarily that is because it actually filled up. So taking surveys early or as early as possible when you see them there, that's why it's a good idea to log into survey sites regularly, then that will actually increase your chances of qualifying for them. The next tip is an extremely important tip and one of the most important to succeed with paid surveys and see good results, and that is to choose the best sites for your country. And many people don't tell you this, they just say this is the best survey site or this is the best survey site, but it's not necessarily the best survey site for you, because the best survey site in one country does not necessarily mean it's the best in another. And I have found out about this after testing hundreds of sites and talking to thousands of users all over the world. And that's also why on my website I, for example, have made lists, manually built lists that I keep updating manually, keep taking feedback, keep testing myself. And then here for different countries I built out all these different lists here, so you can come here, I'll leave a link to this below, and then you can choose your country and then see the best current survey sites for your country, because some survey sites also suddenly in one country they don't have any more available spots in a particular month, and they don't say that publicly, but sometimes I'm told about this, and that's why I then regularly go in and update these. And if your country is not here, then you can go to this one, international survey sites, and that's where you would then find the best options for you. But definitely make sure to always find the best survey sites for your country, and don't just listen to general lists, because there are huge differences depending on where you live. The last tip is to not give up right away, because I sometimes see people start taking paid surveys because it is one of the easiest and fastest ways to start making money online. And then they take 1, 2, maybe 3 surveys, and then they just give up because, oh, I never qualify. And that's because sometimes the survey site need to just get familiar with you. Maybe you didn't fill out the profile. Maybe you didn't join the right survey sites for your country. But the reality is, if you just take a bit of time to test different sites, test different providers, use the tips I have shared here, then there are opportunities to earn for basically all people all over the world. In some countries, yes, there are more opportunities than in others. That is just how it is. But no matter where you live, you do need to be willing to also put in a bit of time yourself to test. I can guide with tips and tricks and also my experiences and the best sites, but again, you do need to put in a bit of time, and don't just give up because there's 1 or 2 or maybe 3 surveys you don't qualify for. But as mentioned earlier also, there are a few sites where you can basically always qualify. So let me also just show those. So as said at the beginning, there are no way to qualify for all surveys, and overall that is also true, but there is actually a survey site where you can always qualify, and this is very unique. There are not many sites like this, and it's called Paid Viewpoint. You can join from all countries, but it's basically only worth it if you live in an English-speaking countries, because in other countries there's not enough surveys to ever be able to reach the payout threshold. But the surveys here, you are sure to actually qualify for them if you see one. You will, however, not see that many, and that's the challenge with a survey site like this, where you're guaranteed to qualify. Another one where you can almost always qualify is called Top Service. You can see they write here no disqualifications, and it is also true that you qualify, in my experience, more often than on many other sites, but you can sometimes risk also not qualifying here, but it does still have a good or high qualification rate. The thing is, in general, that these 2 sites alone will likely not give you enough surveys, but they are definitely great to join to avoid some of the frustrations you can have by not qualifying. But I definitely recommend that you do still combine it with many of the other survey sites that exist that are great, because then you will just get more opportunities. Because if you, for example, just stick to Paid Viewpoint, there are very few surveys and you will not earn a lot. So even if you join sites where you will have more disqualifications, but hopefully less if you actually apply what I have shared here, but still the overall earning potential is higher. So I definitely recommend you also use other sites. But I will leave a link below, as mentioned, to the list I have of the best survey sites in many different countries. I'll also leave a link to a full tutorial of Paid Viewpoint and of Top Service I have on my website. And I actually also do have a written article about how to qualify for more surveys. There are a couple of extra tips there, and if you just like reading, you can also check that out. I will also leave a link to that below. So make sure to check that out, and also if you have any experiences with qualifying or not qualifying on server sites, I would love to hear from you in a comment below. Please share your thoughts there. And finally, if the video helped you, I would really appreciate if you hit the like button, and also don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you won't miss out next time I release a video with tips and tricks about different ways to make money online.